warm welcome and good evening, everybody, and a very warm welcome from Ocean Quest Global. It is an international global organization by our very esteemed, recognized, and renowned founder, Dr. Anuar Abdullah. He is known to literally walk the talk. And he's an expert, absolutely immersed in ocean conservation through coral propagation. He's worked over 43 years in this field of ocean conservation and coral propagation all over the world globally, igniting, inspiring, and hands-on expertise, scientific knowledge, and igniting more youth and adults and communities, not only in their own ocean backyard, but also in the educational field as field projects. And he is outright a real messiah for the corals because he does work in many countries, trying to work with the government, with the local people, with the indigenous communities, with the young students, as well as divers who are the agents of change. So therefore, as ambassador for ADEX for coral conservation, so rightly awarded to him the title, which he really implements. So we invite you for a series of webinars, which will be leading up to the Sabah ADEX in Malaysia. So stay tuned and watch out for all his announcements of his webinar. Today, he will give you an introduction. So without further ado, I warmly welcome Dr. Anwar. Over to you, sir.
Okay, thank you, Elsie. Hi, Ivan. Hi, Karen. Long time no see. How are you?
Hello, how are you?
Good. Anyway, let's start with the topic because we have only about 30 minutes on this one. The topic of this webinar is conservation webinars because I put together approximately, if I'm not mistaken, 35 webinars for this year, starting from now. So in this series of webinar alone, there will be around 6 or 7, and then there will be a few that is linked to the webinars, sub-webinars of this topic, okay? So in total, this series of webinar will be around 15 presentations. And each will be around 30 minutes, so that it's not too long, that people can stay on the line and talk about. The first one that we are going to have tonight at 9 o'clock Singapore time or 9 o'clock Malaysia time, 10 o'clock, of course, Thailand time. So is this one here. This one is, we are talking about introduction to coral conservation. So a lot of people, a lot of my audience now have never involved in coral conservation, and they want to know about the reason why I started this webinar in the first place is because of this overwhelming number of questions about coral conservation, because people have the misconception most of the time regarding coral conservation. So this one is tonight at 9. So this is an overview of global coral conservation. It is presented in a broader perspective for people to understand the magnitude of coral conservation. So stay tuned for this one. Then we have the second one 2 days later, that means on the 11th, which is talking about, this one we are talking about more on the opportunities for people to get involved with coral conservation. And I'm opening a lot of things. You can see on the right-hand side of the screen, there are posters, right? There are posters regarding courses and training and everything. So on the right-hand side, the little posters, they are all about training and opportunities to get involved. The main poster in front of you is the topic that I'm talking about here. You can also learn how to choose the right pathways, the right path. So you are not wandering around aimlessly looking for something right for you in this one. So it will happen on the 9th. If you have friends that is getting involved with coral conservation or colleague who want to get into it, this on the 9th, exactly at 8 o'clock as well, Singapore time. So I'm slowly becoming Singaporean now. Okay, so, and then the next one is ocean advocacy. Okay, this one, mothers or professionals who can't leave their job but wanted to do something for coral conservation, don't necessarily, they don't have anything. They have ocean advocacy is about connection, to advocate a connection between one body and another, and one person and another, to advocate knowledge, to do in relation to public, to get the public knowledge, to build awareness drive, or even to promote the science of coral is an advocacy. You don't have to dive, you don't have to swim, because this part of the coral conservation is basically gaining knowledge from one place, bringing it to another and deliver it. That's advocacy, okay? Advocacy, how to do it is presented on July 15. That's the day, just a day before I leave for Thailand. So July 15 is the last presentation in July, and it was about advocacy. So if you are busy with work, you are a businessman, you are doing something, and then you like to contribute to coral conservation, you can do the advocacy work, okay? And then we come down to August, 2nd of August. 2nd of August is a special day for us because Ocean Quest Global is born on the 2nd of August 2010. So this is exactly on the dot, the 13th anniversary of Ocean Quest. We are going to talk about sustainability in coral conservation, okay? And then what we're going to talk about in this webinar is learn how the future will be shaped in coral conservation. Okay, what do I mean by learn how it's going to be shaped in coral conservation? A lot of people thought, okay, I'm a corporate sector. I have been contributing to coral rehabilitation and whatnot. And I've been putting like $100,000, $30,000, maybe $1 million into this so that people can buy concrete and throw it in the ocean and whatnot. In the future, that is not going to happen anymore because concrete is not a sustainable material. Even the building sector, the architects and the civil engineers, they are looking for alternate material to minimize damage to the planet because rock harvesting, cement making, and sand mining damage many parts of Earth in order to make habitat, our homes. Now, the engineers, the architect, the civil engineers are trying to minimize that damage to the planet. But coral conservationists buy them by the millions and put them in the ocean in the name of conservation. So you can't conserve one and destroy the other. So this is what sustainability in coral conservation is all about. People will start to realize this. And sooner or later, if sustainability or sustainable development goal is the global goal, then that has to stop in the future. Example, this is example. How to adopt to sustainability through engaging coral conservation. So how to get into sustainability. Sustainability means also, if you come and do a course with me nowadays, I will tell you when you can rehabilitate coral and when you should not rehabilitate coral. So we cannot just go in anywhere like Raja Ampat or wherever it is pristine and start a rehabilitation. to rehabilitate what? The environment there is pristine. It does not require rehabilitation. That we must build the understanding for it as well. Okay. So on the right hand side, you see a little poster, threats to coral and countermeasure. That will be in September, 20th of September. We are talking about all the challenges. What if coral bleaching happened? What do you do? What if the crown of thorns infestation comes? What do you do? What if there's a massive pollution? What do you do? Countermeasures. We are going to talk about it. This is a very, very interesting topic. This one will be a 1 hour and a half presentation. That is a long one. Yeah. Then we have technology-based coral conservation. Okay. In all the conservation in the world, they all have already get into technology. But if you look at coral conservation, you will see a young marine biologist walking to the sea with his scuba gear, and his technology is a line, a pencil, and a slate. And then he go in the water and he make his observation, he write it on the slate. And then if there's another young marine biologist come by, he too will bring another line, another slate, and another pencil. They go to the same reef. But guess what? When they come back, when the two of them come back, you compare the first observer and the second observer. It's totally different observation, because what is that? It's human error, because there's no technology involved in it, right? So right now we are talking with our partners in China. We are doing AI, artificial intelligence. I will present technology-based conservation in ADEX 2024 in Singapore. So we will also have some of this technology in our booth at ADEX Singapore, so that people can see how do we reduce carbon footprint when we are diving. A lot of conservationists, they say, oh, we did 1,300 dives a year. And that means each person is taking 1,300 tanks into the water. What do they use to fill up the tank? They use compressor. Most of the time, the compressor is gasoline run, right? So the engine that drives the compressor, for example, in one tank fill of that engine can fill up between 8 to 12 tanks. And one tank fill will produce about 8 pounds or 3.7 kilograms of carbon into the air. Yeah, that means 8 tanks. 800 tanks, you multiply that 3.7 kilogram by 800. And the end, just to conserve coral, just to use tanks fill up from compressor that run on gasoline, you put tons of carbon into the air, right? And you are conservationist, but you put a ton per person per year into the atmosphere. And that is not very good. So to reduce carbon footprint, nowadays, a lot of diving units that is electrical run, that is even solar energy run, that can be used instead of gasoline. So by using those newer technology, you reduce over a ton per person of carbon footprint, right? So this is what we are talking about, technology-based coral conservation. So reducing carbon footprint and all the other things as well. So this topic will be presented physically on stage at ADEX Singapore 2024. Okay. Then finally, the last is the holistic approach. Okay. It is a trend now. Everything is holistic. Everything is. But what about coral conservation, right? when you talk about coral conservation to a layman, a lot of people will shy away from it because it's too complex. They don't want to think about it. And then they leave it. They say, oh, that's a job of marine biologists and professors. No, it isn't true. You can be a coral gardener. You train how to plant coral. You learn the technique. You can be part of. You can be an engineer who actually designed that technology just now I just mentioned, right? And you don't go in the ocean, but you design an equipment that reduce carbon footprint when you do coral conservation. You are part of it. So everybody is part of it. Recently, I was in Semporna. This is the story. There's an envoy from European Union. They came to Semporna, they went to Mabul, and the reason when they go there is because there was an outreach to get them to help with the pollution in the waters around Semporna. I've been telling people already, the plastic problem, whether it's in Semporna or in Dhaka or in Karachi or in anywhere, if there's a plastic problem, you are the problem. You are the problem. You are the enterprise there. You are the business there. You are the citizen there. You are the government agent there. You are whatever you are there. Say in Semporna, for example, or say in Karachi, for example, or say in Dhaka, or say anywhere, right? The person that is living there is responsible. Why I say that? Because you let it happen. You let the pollution happen. Oh, I'm just a vendor. I'm just a vendor. I'm selling drinks. Yeah, but you let it happen. Oh, I'm a district officer. They all are illegal immigrant. It's not under my jurisdiction. No, you let it happen. You let the pollution happen. Because everybody let it happen, it happens, right? If everybody say, no, I don't want this pollution, you think it will happen? No. If everybody says, I don't care, this is my country, I don't want this pollution, the district officer says that, the vendor says that, the little guy says that, whoever on the street also says that, you think there will be a pollution? There won't be a pollution. The pollution problem is everybody's problem. That's the problem, right? So we have to change that in the future. When we consolidate everybody's problem into this solution, what do? It's a holistic approach to solving problems, right? We are solving the coral conservation problems the same way. We can no longer say it's a professor's job. We can no longer say it's a marine biologist's job. If not of the engineer, who's going to design equipment? If not of the geologist, who's going to tell you about what kind of rock is sustainable to use for coral conservation? If not for the sweepers on the beach, who's going to take care of the rubbish that's going into your reef? Everybody is involved. That means it has to be a holistic approach. It no longer Anuar Abdullah, or it no longer Dr. So-and-so, is no longer a biologist or a professor or somebody's duty anymore. It is everybody's responsible. If we want to solve problem, we have to be holistic. Everybody must get involved. Same with plastic, same with coral. Then we talk about this holistic approach in Sabah, I believe. Yeah, let's see the poster on the right-hand side. Yes, in Sabah, holistic approach. The holistic approach is in Singapore. Sorry, it was the other way. So 2024, we will talk about the holistic approach in Singapore, and the technology base will be in Sabah, ADEX Sabah. Okay, so that sums up this series of webinar. Okay, so this series of webinar consolidate everything together What's the main topic? The main topic is stepping into a progressive future. So far, we haven't progressed because we use this. We use this, we point finger at anybody. It's not my problem, it's their problem. And that guy will use this too. No. In the future, if we adopt sustainability, we have to bend this around and take our responsibility. Okay, that is how we do it. Okay, so let's go back to the and recap. So conservation webinars. Thank you, Elsie, for introduction. I have done a webinar the day before yesterday. There's been an introduction. It was now published on YouTube, and I will put that YouTube link for everybody to go through. If those who have missed that webinar 2 days ago, then this webinar will also be on YouTube so that everybody can watch. A lot of people have no opportunity to watch because of the time difference and whatnot. And this is the presentation of this year and next year. So follow me because there are other knowledge as well. I will be talking about coral biology at some point, the basics of coral biology, what it is all about, yeah, to understand how coral live and how that little guy actually communicate with you even. So it's very interesting, okay? So thank you very much for watching. I stop share now.
Thank you, Dr. Anuar. Does anyone have questions? It'll be nice if you have questions. You can ask Dr. Anuar while we have a few minutes more.
Yeah, you can unmute if you want to ask question. Yeah.
This webinar is very important to me because sometimes I'm being asked if I'm a marine biologist, but now I'm able to answer them that no, I'm not, but I'm trained to plant corals and save corals.
Yeah, it's
I
true.
just want to share, I was asked when I was in Batangas and I was introduced.
Okay, okay, this is the story. This is the misconception that people have been thinking. They think that marine biology, okay, let's step out of the coral. We go into plants, okay? We leave the coral, we go to plants. Around 200 years ago, maybe 225 years ago, they started a thing called botany. And I'm not mistaken, it was in Oxford, in England. There's a study of botany. And people in England laugh at it. They say, why do we need to learn botany when everybody knows how to plant trees? You know, everybody knows how to plant trees. Yes, but then botany is a science, right? So to have a deeper understanding of trees and plants, botany is important in a way of science. But planting a tree is a technique. It's not necessarily, that is already being cultured since 20,000 years ago, when the nomadic people, they go around the forest and they found fruits and they eat and they throw the seed on the ground and then they wander around again. The next year, when they come back to the same place, they saw the seed become a tree. They learn from there, and then suddenly they settle in one place and they start planting. They become farmers, right? And then the knowledge of farming go on from generation to generation and generation. The people who feed the world, the farmers who feed the world, never been to university, but they know the technique of planting